Welcome to the Closers Network podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sadikian, and this show is for closers, entrepreneurs, and ambitious people who are hungry to sharpen their sales skills, dominate sales, and create real wins in life and in business.
I'll tell you a quick story. One of the first remote closing offers I ever had was with Tony Robbins. And it was a front-end offer for like $2,000. You could buy a course online to learn how to open up an online business. Okay, one of the first few things that Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi did together. And you guys, I like almost peed my pants trying to ask people for $2,000 because at that stage, I was somebody who had like minus $400 in my bank account. Okay, I had a family that relied on me. Like my mom needed me to help her pay her mortgage. She couldn't work. She had to file bankruptcy. And, for me to ask somebody else and try to dictate how they should spend their money almost made me feel like an imposter. Today's topic is going to be a little bit more about average order value, all right? And this is such a great topic that's really near and dear to my heart because, when I first got into high ticket closing like almost 15 years ago, it was really important for me to have like options, right? And how I spent my time, how I earn my money, and what I get to do with it. And some of you guys might have went to college. Some of you might have been pressured to go into different industries. And I'd done the corporate game. I'd worked for a lot of different types of companies before, Fortune 500. Inc. 5000. And, while they were great and I learned a lot, I just found that nothing really beats the ability to work when and how you want to, right? Now, that said, I never really wanted to be in a position where I was still working 8, 12 hours a day unless I really had to, like an event or a live challenge. And so, I was fortunate enough to kind of shape my expertise to be able to still earn, over 20,000 in commissions per month working 4 days a week, 5 hours a day. All right. Now, a huge part of that, and I don't say that to impress you, okay? I say that to impress upon you that if you have the right focus and you have the right intention, you can 100% make more than doctors do, right? But the key is making sure you're making more money with your time. And a lot of that has to do with how you're selling things. Now, if you're on an offer that has multiple programs, it's a little bit simpler. If you're on an offer that only has one program and maybe like a painful and split pay option, this still applies to you, okay? And it has a lot to do with how you're doing your pricing, but it also has to do with your mentality on how you handle people's reactions to a lot of money. And it has a lot to do with your relationship and your narrative around money itself. Okay, so I'll tell you a quick story. One of the first remote closing offers I ever had was with Tony Robbins. And it was a front-end offer for like $2,000. You could buy a course online to learn how to open up an online business. Okay, one of the first few things that Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi did together. And you guys, I like almost peed my pants trying to ask people for $2,000 because at that stage, I was somebody who had like minus $400 in my bank account. Okay, I had a family that relied on me. Like my mom needed me to help her pay her mortgage. She couldn't work. She had to file bankruptcy. And, for me to ask somebody else and try to dictate how they should spend their money almost made me feel like an imposter. All right. Now, you realize where I'm going with this. The problem isn't necessarily that like, hey, people don't have the money, because I was getting all kinds of excuses, right? I was getting folks saying, hey, that's out of my budget. Hey, I just got my roof, it needs to be fixed. Hey, I got X, Y, and Z coming up with my kids' tuition. And because I had such a poor relationship with money and because I was in such a scarcity moment, I would get sold on the excuses. All right. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes down to your relationship with money. Even if you don't have what you need right now to be considered wealthy, just to kind of remember like the rule of thumb when it comes down to lottery winners, like it doesn't, like when you look at the statistics for lottery winners, very rarely do any of them end up bettering their situation because they got money, right? It's how they choose to invest it, it's what they choose to use with it that either grows it or slows it. Okay, and half of them end up bankrupt anyway because they don't have the right mindset and they don't have the right self-discipline to be a seven-figure type of person anyway, right? So what I'm talking about is kind of a broken model, which is like I have to have these things in order to do the things I want to do to be a seven-figure producer. The reality is that it has to be the other way around. Okay, you have to first think like the person and have the routine of a person who is a seven-figure producer so you can do the things to have those results. All right. Now, going back into AOV, like I said, sometimes it kind of touches into pricing, but if you've been on sales calls before, you've probably heard, hey, it's out of my budget, right? Or hey, let me think about it, or I got to figure out where I got to pull the money from. You guys, the only time in the 15 years that I've been closing for all different kinds of offers where people don't know where they can pull the money is the people who have too much of it. Okay. If I were to ask you for $100, I'm pretty sure you know exactly what money, where that money's going to come from, right? And so when we get those excuses or we get those smoke screens, don't think of it as a no, because nowhere in those sentences is the word no, right? There's typically just some type of fear or an uncertainty behind it, and it's our role to kind of stay convicted that, hey, we are bettering this person's situation and that the money is the least of their problems, right? Money should be the easiest problem to solve in the world. Because if you think about it, there's so many opportunities to earn money, right? But time, words, opportunity, like those are the three things in life that don't come back. And so ideally what's happening is that you are on an offer that is offering an opportunity, right? So I'm so sorry. Give me 2 seconds. My, for those of you that have dogs, my dog's just licking away. The slop, slop, slop. Yeah, so it's like a needle in my brain. But anyway, so uh, so ideally you're on an offer that's offering an opportunity that is just absolutely priceless, right? Is it going to get somebody back peace of mind? Is it going to get somebody back better control of their health? Is it going to guarantee independence or mobility for the future, right? Is it going to guarantee a certain future or options or choice for their children if they take this route to earn money? Whatever it is, if you have that conviction and you understand that, yeah, this money in exchange for value is worth it, right? That's your first step to increasing your AOV. Okay. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay, perfect. Now, when it comes down to holding up an AOV, we got to make sure that when we're playing the game of asking for the decision after dropping the price, when we see hesitation, remember that people will take the cues from you because up until that moment when you drop price, you have been the authority, right? You were the authority on what they came on the call to learn more about. You're also the person who controls the conversation the most because you're the one asking the questions. And so there has to be a certain amount of trust, there has to be a certain amount of rapport that you've already built to get them to this decision-making process stage. What I see happen a lot, and only I can only see it because I've done it so many times myself, is that when we drop the price and that person just has like a visceral reaction, right? And we react to that and think that, hey, if I just downsell, that'll solve the problem, right? You're undercutting your margins from the get-go because you're not giving them the opportunity to even work through that fear or uncertainty. Because when people have visceral reactions, oh, it was more than I was expecting, or yeah, I just don't have that. Like, you guys, again, the word's not no. Unless if they're still on the call with you, that's permission to speak. Okay. So your role at that point is again to maintain conviction, but above all, maintain composure. Okay. Because they're going to take again their cues from you. So if you see them have a visceral reaction and I'd love for you guys to kind of take a look back at your own calls if you're taking calls right now, like look at your body language, right? Are you still the same person you were 20 minutes ago when you were talking about discovery, going through the pitch, getting excited about solving their problems? Or did your shoulders slump, right? Do you look worried? Are you stumbling over your words? Okay. If you can maintain composure, what that's going to do is going to allow you to steer your conversation in a direction that you want to go. And sometimes that's sitting in that pocket. It is possible, you guys, to downsell too soon. Because what happens is sometimes we look at downselling as a solution. They say, oh my gosh, that's too much money, way out of budget, I can't do it, X, Y, and Z. And we go, well, we have something cheaper. So if money is the only thing that's standing in the way, I could totally get you in at this price. But all of you that have been on calls, I'm sure you've gotten this too, because I've gotten it a million times, is sometimes that doesn't even work, right? Because whether you're offering them 5,000 or whether you're offering them 2,000, doesn't really matter. 2,000 is still a lot of money. Does that make sense? And so if we keep it logistical and we stay within that fear pocket and we feed into that narrative, you are 100% killing your AOV. And you're going to spend an hour and a half on a call, objection handling, just to get a $200 commission. Okay, or sometimes less than that, right? When it could have been a $500 commission. And I'm not saying that this is going to work every single time. What I am saying is that the repeated instances of that, right, are really what make the difference at what's deposited in your bank account at the end of the month. Because if you look back, we're halfway through the month. For those of you that are taking calls, if you have any inkling that, hey, I sold a 3K that could have been a 5K, or I sold a 500 that could have been a 1500, where would you be right now? right? Would you be on track? Would you be closer to your goals? How much further would that have put you? And that's the advantage of taking opportunities like that, just to kind of slow down, maintain composure, and not feed into negative narratives. Okay. But again, I want to really kind of pause here, you guys, because this is so important. When you look at people who are predictably earning seven figures per year, it's not because they have a better skill set. It's not because they started off at a better foundation. It's not because they have a better offer, right? They are the type of people who will earn seven figures no matter what they choose to put their effort into, right? And that has to start with a story that you're telling yourselves around money. Okay. Because if we are worried about money and we are worried about where our next paycheck's going to come from, how we're going to pay for this, X, Y, and Z. And I'm not saying don't be human. I'm not saying that like we don't have to adult through life, but I am saying that that has nothing to do with the person that's right in front of you. And the best way for you to mutually benefit from a sale is to serve the person that's in front of you, right? Solve their problems, make them your active focus. Okay. Because if we're worried about the bills and we're worried about all these like the negative bank account on the call, we're going to come off needy. We're going to come off desperate. And that's why we start to downsell too soon because we just want to get something in, right? But that desperation, human beings are so good on picking up on, you guys, right? We are so sensitive to people's energies. And like, have you ever been in a situation where you talked to somebody that you could tell was just saying something because they knew they had to, not because they meant it, right? And that just goes into authenticity. Sometimes you can't fake it till you make it, right? So the authentic goal for why you're on this call, if you want to increase AOV, is just to better that person's situation. And if you need to be sold on the offer that you're on, okay? Like if you're part of an offer right now where maybe you don't believe in it and you're worried about what happens to your prospect after they go across the finish line with you, right? My suggestion would be to either number one, go back to your sales lead or whoever is in charge of your success or helping you along in your success, I should say, because we're all in charge of our own success, right? But going back to your sales lead to whomever is there to guide you and have them sell you on it. Tell them about what's going on, what the roadblock is, and what stops you from just being a fanatic about what you have to offer. Okay. And I recognize that not everybody's in a sales environment where you have a leader or an associate that can help you do that. If you're not, that's totally fine. At that point, what you need to do is maybe qualify your prospects a little bit better. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we're only worried about somebody not getting results because we're afraid they're not going to be put on the right path and they won't do the work, right? Because that's the only way to fail. If you don't start and if you don't follow through. You guys agree? Right? And so if you can line yourself up and sell yourself on the transformation that you have to offer, AOV won't be a problem. Offering them the most expensive package is probably going to be the only solution that you have for this person because it can only benefit them, right? Make sense, you guys? Okay, cool. Now, something that's been really helpful for me, because I'm just a really big believer in communication. And it's been transformative in all areas of my life, not just as a closer, but also as a leader, as a wife, as a daughter, as a friend. When you're in that stage and you're thinking, hey, oh my gosh, this person's really freaking out over the price, like, and if I want to work on not downselling too soon, like, what do I need to do? The thought pattern that I want you to remember is communication solves all problems. Okay. And your goal at that point is just to get clarity. If it's an objection, our main thing is, hey, isolate, figure out what the real issue is, right? And once we figure out what the real issue is, we solve that problem, right? So if you want to figure out how to do that without downselling too early, and you figured out that money really is the issue, it's just the, hey, look, like 5,000 is going to put me out of house and home, but like I could probably do something closer to 2,000 versus you saying, hey, yeah, I've got something cheaper at 2,000, right? And it's less time, but at least we can get you started and it's within your budget. I think 50-50, you're probably going to get people who say, well, yeah, I can do that and I'm ready to go, right? And the other 50% that we're going to lose is the folks that say, well, listen, like that's still a lot of money. I want to think about it. And then they fall off the face of the earth, right? So obviously I'm talking about that 50% that we want to address, okay? Value needs to exceed price, right? Value always has to exceed price. So if you want to make sure you're not downselling too soon, we need to make sure we're isolating that, yes, money is the only thing that's standing in the way. It's not money and the spouse and anything about it. I'm not impulsive. It's just money. I would die to do this. I would recommend everybody to do this. If I had the money, I would do it right now. right? If you have that emphatic buy-in and it's just money that's standing in the way, my next and only question is hey, Shelby, let me ask you this then, because I have a great idea, but I want to run it by you first. And I want to make sure above all that if we get you to do this, that you're getting exactly what you need. I know we talked about a lot, but what are the main one or two things that you are absolutely need from your coach or this program to guarantee that you'll be successful? Because whatever their answer is, you guys, it's most likely going to be something that was part of your pitch, right? Something that's already included into the program. All right. And so when you leverage that and they say it's having the guidance, it's having the blueprint, it's having the expertise of this coach to lead me to X, Y, and Z. And it's okay, Shelby, gotcha. So that's what I'm hearing is that you need a GPS, right? Because you're willing to drive the car, you just need to know where to go. And you want someone to number the 1,000-piece puzzle from 1 to 1,000 on the back. Did I get that right? You go, yes. Perfect. So here's what I have for you. And at that point is only when I'll downsell. Make sense, you guys? Okay, cool. Do you have any questions about that? I started in kind of hot, you guys, because I had like 3 people, and then now I have a lot more than that. So if there's additional context that's needed, let me know. But so how many of you guys have found kind of yourselves in that situation, maybe even recently, where maybe you downsell a little bit too quickly, or you're wondering, hey, like shit, I didn't really want to do it, but I just wanted to get something across the line. Okay, great. Awesome. Do we have any questions around that or anything that you felt like you struggled with that you want to talk about? Go ahead.
So when you're talking about like the 2 to 3 things that they are going to say is going to guarantee the results, is that like kind of like a recap, like going back and reselling?
It's reaffirming. It's
Reaffirming?
realigning them with the outcome. Mhm.
Okay. I don't think I do that enough, so I think that's something I need to add in. I know it's bad.
No, no, no. It's so easy to slip your mind. You know what I mean? Like, because you're over here thinking, hey, I'm convinced this person needs it. They told me about their pain, their urgency. They seemed excited about the pitch, so you're sold. You know.
Mhm.
But again, I want to influence the narrative that that person has. So I need to make them say it out loud again. Bring them back to the outcome. You know.